Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bon Voyage Besties, your favorite podcast for all things travel and friendship. Today, we're talking about our favorite topic, which is spending money. If you know me, I'm sure you're really surprised by this. From bougie hotels to first class flights to overpriced tours and impulse souvenir hauls, we're going to talk about the best of both worlds. So, this will be all about our best and worst travel splurges because even though I love spending money, sometimes I do make mistakes with my money. So we're here to talk about it. So grab your passports and your iced lattes if you have one. And it's time to see what luxuries are worth it and which ones will never justify again. So I'm super excited to talk about this.
I know we always joke around. This is not a financial podcast, but I do want to say I am financially responsible 80% of the time.
I was going to say for me, maybe it's 50% of the time, but I think this is a really fun episode to talk about because I don't really have too many travel splurge regrets, but I know sometimes people get caught up into spending more money and they think like, oh, if I spend more money, the better the trip. And I know it's not always the case. So I'm excited to dive into it.
Same here. So I know for myself, I consider myself to be, at least I try to be conscious of finding like a good deal. I like thrive whenever I can save money, whether it's on my flights or accommodations or tour, whatever the case may be. So even though I do like to stay in nice places or fly, hopefully in my future business class to Europe one day, because I still haven't done that.
I still haven't done it either. And it seems like everybody's doing that. Like go on Instagram and TikTok and it seems like everyone's flying business class. And I know a lot of it is like points if you're opening a credit card with the sign up bonus, but I never have flown business class to Europe. I would love to fly business class to Japan. Just like 13 hours getting like maybe that'll cure my fear of flying. We talked about this on another episode, but I think if I flew first class with Emirates, my fear of flying would be totally cured. No more doctor.
Exactly. Sounds like the cure in itself right there. But yeah, I feel like I consider myself, I know we talked about this in a couple of other episodes where I say like I'm bougie in a budget. And I'm going to stick with that title because I do love to stay in nice places. But again, I do like to be conscious of what I'm spending. And I try to stick to a budget. It doesn't always work itself out that way. I mean, but money comes
Budget
and go.
never works. My budget always just dies. I like to say it's because I'm not good at math, but I know part of it is because I have no impulse control. Before we even started the podcast, I was telling Rosa I went to New Hope today specifically to get artisanal candles and I spent $60 on those candles and they are worth it for me because my apartment smells great, but I do things like that. So anyway,
You'll get some points out of them. So like,
exactly,
it balances
exactly.
itself out. So I know for myself. So whenever we do travel, especially when we travel as a family, multiplying everything by 3 gets out of control. So for me specifically, I don't mind sitting in economy. Like even when we went to Japan, we did get upgraded thanks to our status with United. So we got upgraded to the economy plus. But my initial tickets were just straight economy because I was like, I'm not dishing out $1,500, $1,000 per person just for our flight. I normally sleep through it anyway. So I'm like, if I can save money, I'd rather use that money. For me personally, it's more important to stay somewhere nice, my food budget to be a little bit higher. So I really don't care if I have to sit in economy for 10 or even 14 hours. So what do you say?
So jealous that you can sleep on these flights. You need to like somehow create that magic in a bottle and sell it because you'd be a multimillionaire. Like I would kill to be able to sleep on flights. I really would.
I feel like I'm sleep deprived on my normal life. So whenever I'm on a plane, I have nothing else to do. And I'm just like, oh, might as well just go to sleep for 14 hours and hibernate like a bear. But
Yep, there we
anyways,
go.
so would you consider yourself, Rachel, to be more of a budget traveler or more of a treat yourself type of traveler?
Oh boy. So when I first started traveling in my 20s, I was traveling solo. I was definitely more budget conscious then, and I would stay in hostels. I wouldn't mind just getting like fast food to save on a food budget. I did a lot of free walking tours. And then as I've gotten older, I feel like I work hard for my money and I should be able to enjoy my money. So I still try to be reasonable about it. Like if I'm paying fully out of pocket and I'm not getting any sort of discount in any way, I'll try to stay at like a good solid 3-star hotel, try to keep it within like a reasonable spend per night. But if I see something that I want to do, if I want say a Michelin star 20-course sushi meal in Tokyo and I want to spend close to $300 for it, I'm not going to hold back. I figure you're only going to live once. Like, I'm sorry, the money's not going to follow you when you're dead. Like, does it really matter?
Think so, unless, like, somebody's counting on you putting them in your will, then they're gonna be disappointed.
It's all good. It's all good. I don't owe money to a mafia boss or anything, so it's totally fine.
You're in the clear.
I'm not clear. Tony Soprano's not coming after me, so I can spend my money on sushi in Tokyo. But yeah, like if there's an experience I really want to do and I feel like it's truly going to be memorable and worth it, like I don't mind spending a bit of extra money. So, for example, something that immediately comes to mind. Now, I didn't have my phone because my phone was at the bottom of the bay in Heraklion during this, but we spent a bit of money to do a sunset cruise in Crete and we had a chance to have wine on the boat and swim and see the sunset going back into the harbor. And like it wasn't cheap. I think it was maybe like 90 or $100, but it was totally worth it for those memories and just seeing how beautiful Crete was in the sunset. And those memories will stick with me for a long time. So I have no problem spending money on experiences like that. Now, if I think it's something that's kind of cheesy, like a tourist trap or something, I don't want to be spending money on that. And when it comes to food too, if it's a restaurant that doesn't have great reviews or has horrible food, then obviously I don't want to spend money on that. So I do try to be mindful with what I'm spending it on, but if it's something I think I'll like, I feel like I deserve it. So you know what? Whatever.
So treat yourself.
A long-winded way of saying treat yourself. Yeah, I'm a treat yourself traveler. Guys, I just want to reiterate, like, don't follow my advice if you're trying to save money. It's probably a bad idea. Pull up a financial podcast for that. You don't want to listen to me.
But I feel like it's all about priorities. Like you said, for you, you love the cuisine, you love trying new restaurants. So if that's what's important to you, then making sure that you're allocating your funds and being able to splurge. And maybe you can save on other things. Like you said, maybe you're saving on accommodations because you're not staying at the Four Seasons. You're staying somewhere nice, but a little bit more affordable. So just figuring out what part of your trip is really going to make or break your experience and make it more memorable. So if flying first class, maybe you just had surgery, for instance, and you want to be comfortable. So as soon as you land, you don't want to be cramped up and your body's aching. So go ahead and splurge on that flight, and then you'll be able to save in other ways throughout your travels. So figuring out what's your priority, I think is going to set off that trip on the right foot.
Definitely. And I feel like what I spend money on or what Rosa spends money on, it's going to look different for everyone, what their priority is and what they're going to like. So, yeah, just like have some balance. I wish I could fly business class all the time. I wish I could just stay in the Four Seasons all the time. I wish I could eat at multiple Michelin star restaurants all the time. But some things do have to be cut to make it reasonable, like spending money. But at the same time, I'm not looking to be like 20,000 in credit card debt. That's a little much even for me. So that I'll pass. So it's all about that balance, I think. So Rosa, when you're planning a trip, what do you usually splurge on first? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I guess I would say probably my accommodations. Again, when I'm traveling, it also depends who I'm traveling with. But let's say if I'm traveling with Michael and Samantha, so we're traveling as a family of three, we're three adults. So finding accommodations are going to be within like walking distance or easy access to public transportation is usually my go to. Now, granted, if we're traveling to a destination when we're renting a car, then it's a little bit more different with my criteria. But I would say definitely aside from the flights, which again, I have no problem flying economy. And I try to minimize my cost for flights by using my miles and points wherever possible. So that way my cash value is a little bit less and I can use more of my money towards accommodations. So I would say definitely the accommodations because again, I'd rather splurge a little bit more and spend more money and stay somewhere that's nice, safe, comfortable, good reviews, and stay somewhere sketchy just to save like $50.
Yeah, definitely. Like I agree with you because I always fly economy too. Like I do get upgraded a lot to economy plus because of my status with United. The only exception to that was when I flew to Tokyo So I was really nervous about that flight because I'm a nervous flyer. So I actually paid a couple $100 to fly premium economy, but it was only one way. And then on the way back, I sat in economy plus. It was totally fine. And for accommodation, I always make sure I have a couple criteria that it has to be centrally located, that it's safe, and that it's clean. I do not compromise on cleanliness and I do not compromise on safety, but it doesn't have to be a five-star resort because how I travel, I'm usually out and about. I could think of an example. When I was in Scottsdale on a solo trip, I was kind of torn between staying at a more budget friendly hotel and a resort. And I actually talked about it with my mom, and she like made the point, for my type of travel, which is going out and enjoying the food, the museum, the nature experiences, all of that. She's like, you're not really ever at the hotel anyway to enjoy it. So save your money and use it for the experiences instead. So with the money that I saved, I used it to go out to the Grand Canyon, and it was an amazing day and it was a lot of fun and well worth it because it's one of the best memories that I have, just looking at the view of the Grand Canyon, way more important to me than staying at a resort. I would say with my splurges, I prioritize experiences. So maybe it's a really cool play that I want to see. When I was in London, I spent money to go to the Globe Theater to see Macbeth, which is one of my favorite plays. If it's a really cool food experience, like the Michelin star sushi experience in Tokyo, that's something that'll stick with me. So things that I can't necessarily do at home that I want to remember, that's where my money tends to go. It's not so much on like fancy flights or five-star hotels. And honestly, if I'm going to stay at a super swanky hotel and you see me staying there, someone else is like either footing the bill or I'm using points. Like I don't want to spend that much for a hotel room.
Yeah, I like a balance, and I'm not usually very picky when it comes to the accommodations as far as it being, let's say, like a 5-star versus a 4-star or particular chains that I like to stay in. Again, my criteria is similar to yours. Finding something that is centrally located, easy access, good reviews, that it's clean. If I'm traveling with Michael and Samantha and we're going to be somewhere for an extended period of time, like Sam likes to work out, so I do try to find hotels that have like a fitness center or they're like near a park. That way she can run if she wanted to. So I definitely try to make sure that we're getting more bang for our buck. So definitely the hotels is usually like my go-to. And then you joke around and I say, I don't believe in budgets, but I normally do set a budget. And like, let's say for instance, when we were going to London early in the year, I didn't want to spend more than $2,000 in total for accommodations. And we were actually going to be spending 3 nights in London and 3 nights in Paris. So in total, that was our particular budget for that trip for accommodations. So obviously I looked at hotels, that were within that ballpark. And I think we were like slightly over just because the hotel that we ended up picking in London ended up being a little bit more, but I like the location of it much better than other options that were going to be cheaper. So I do more or less do set myself a budget and then kind of work from there and then kind of pick and choose based upon that what other criterias are met.
And London's an expensive city. So this also like is very, I feel like, location dependent. Like I know for me, I'm going to be splurging a lot less in London than I would another destination that may be more affordable, especially with that exchange rate. I'm going to London in February and I'm already like preparing myself for it, but it'll be totally worth it. I love
Yeah.
the city.
The conversion into pounds, forget it. And then that's what ended up happening
Jeez.
to us. So because we ended up spending more money in the accommodation for London, we ended up having less money that we wanted to spend for accommodation in Paris. So that kind of limited our our locations and our hotels based on that. Because for us as a family, and it's very expensive. And one of our bucket list trip for 2025 was going to Tanzania. So I knew that was going to be a very, very expensive trip. So all of our other trips needed to be a little bit more affordable. But I've also made some other mistakes, but we'll talk about that later on in this episode.
Yes, that'll be super fun. So, on the topic of upgrades, because like I know with flights, we really don't upgrade all that much. Have you ever had an upgrade that was totally like worth the extra money? For me, it has to be that flight to Tokyo because it is a smaller cabin and the flight attendants were really diligent and sweet about checking in on me. I had some more space and it just made the flight, I guess, possible for me. Like now that I've flown to Japan once already, I won't need to do it again. But it was almost like for me an upgrade of necessity just because of my flight anxiety. But I'm curious about you if you've ever had like any sort of thing that you upgraded on and you thought this was really worth it.
Yeah, so I kind of had two scenarios, one where it was worth it, one where it was not worth it.
Sweet. Let's hear both.
So, in terms of the flights, I've upgraded a couple of times, but it wasn't anything like ridiculously expensive. However, when we went to Egypt, the hotel we were staying in Cairo actually offered that you were able to check in at 10 o'clock in the morning and our flight landed like around 6 or something in the morning. By the time we got to the hotel, it was like close to 9 o'clock. So when we were checking in, the gentleman said, like, hey, if you want, we have a room that's ready. We can offer you an early check-in. And instead of like one night's rate, you would just have to pay like half a night's rate. So we ended up spending maybe like 200 or 300 bucks to be able to check in at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it was like a guaranteed check-in. So that was totally worth it because we were exhausted from, traveling. I think the flight was like 9 hours from JFK to Cairo. And then plus we weren't going to be going out right away. Our tour guide, because it was Ramadan, he wasn't going to come pick us back up until like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we pretty much had like all day. So it was nice to be able to check in, to kind of like settle down. We ended up taking like a nap, changing into like our bathing suit, going to like the rooftop. So that was totally worth the extra like $200, $300 to be able to check in at 10 o'clock in the morning as opposed to just lounging in the hotel like aimlessly for like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like those early check-ins are lifesavers, especially if you are flying, say, a transatlantic flight. Like by the time I get to Europe, I am wrecked. I am like absolutely destroyed. So if I can have an early check-in, even if I have to pay, I am totally on board. So out of curiosity, what upgrade wasn't worth it? Spill the tea.
So initially, for one of the trips we were planning for spring break, we were going to go to Belize, but then there were a couple of negative things on the media with aviation in general, nothing with Belize specifically, but just with aviation in general as we started 2025. And Michael, similar
Mhm.
to you, is a little bit more of a fearful flyer. And when I was telling him that in order to get to the specific island that we wanted to go to, we had to take like a small little charter plane, he was not about that.
You would have to knock me out and carry me on that plane. You would have to just like slug me in the face, knock me out, roll me up into like a suitcase, and then do it that way because otherwise, girl, I ain't going. I'm with Michael.
Noted, duly noted. But he's done it before. When we went to Colombia, we ended up having to take like a small charter plane. So anyway, so because of that, he was kind of like, not too content about going to Belize. So I was like, you know what, fine, let's pivot, let's go somewhere else. So we wanted to go somewhere that was like a short flight because we were only going to go for like 5 days. So we had never been to Aruba, so we decided we're going to go to Aruba. So because we ended up kind of booking like more or less last minute, making the changes for the accommodations, we ended up staying at the Renaissance Marriott Hotel, which is a beautiful property. But I was like, oh, let me splurge and upgrade to like a larger suite. And that way we have more space. This is going to be the three of us as opposed to getting like a standard room with like the two beds or whatever. So we get there and at check-in, everything is great. She was like, oh, do you guys want to like prepay for like the breakfast package, kind of like a semi all-inclusive package that they offered? I was like, sure, no problem. And then when we got to the room, it turned out that I didn't realize that I had booked the suite that came with the kitchenette. So essentially I had paid extra for the room and the bedroom was ginormous. So technically we didn't even need like an entire suite because it had like a separate like living room area. So we totally could have just slept in a room with the two beds. And then I had the kitchenette. And on top of that, I had just paid like 400 bucks for breakfast when we had a kitchen there and there was like a supermarket that I was like, we could have been making our own breakfast and saved the $300.
$300 for breakfast is
Yeah.
expensive, my
I mean,
friend.
granted, it was three of us and it was also for four
Did those
days.
eggs come with caviar or something?
I mean, I do love a breakfast buffet, and so does Samantha, so she makes use of it. And it's funny because Michael's not really big on waking up early to go to breakfast, and I was like, "Listen, buddy, you're waking up because like
Absolutely, absolutely. If I'm paying for that damn breakfast buffet, I'm like, you are up out of bed and you are like eating everything. I don't care if it makes you sick.
it adds up." So like when you do the math, it wasn't anything crazy. Maybe it was like 25 US dollars per person per day for the breakfast. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount. And they had like a nice spread. It was fine. But again, I kind of upgraded for a larger room and then I picked one that had like a garden view. And then when I went to check in, they're like, oh yeah, we put you in like one of the larger bedrooms, suites, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, perfect. And then we get there and like our room was like right behind a bush and looking at a parking lot. So I'm like, I paid extra for like a view that I didn't even get. We had a partial like ocean view, which was kind of like a joke. I mean, the room itself, and again, the property was beautiful, but I kind of have spent a little bit more money on the accommodation than I really needed to. And
Yeah.
it was kind of a waste to do the breakfast because I was like, I could have just spent like 50 bucks and had breakfast the entire week for the three of us. You live
Yeah,
and you
no,
learn.
definitely. You live and you learn and you move on, and the money will come back eventually. It's fine.
I
It's
mean,
okay.
it has not come back, and that was in March. Maybe in 2026. But have you ever had yourself in this situation where you've upgraded on something and it was totally worth it for you, aside from like the flights? And I know you love going to the lounges as well at the airport.
Can I actually complain about lounges? Because sometimes this is going to be a hot take, and I'm prepared to stand by it. Because I just have been thinking about my United Club card is up for renewal, and I'm not going to say what the annual fee is. I probably shouldn't have the card, but if you want to look it up and laugh at me, go ahead. It's public information. I sometimes do wonder if the airport lounges are even worth the upgrade. Do I really want to be spending this annual fee to have cheese cubes in Newark Airport? Like, I don't know. Like, I feeling like starting to feel like disenchanted with lounges, and I wonder if the splurge is worth it or not. Because in my case too, taking medication to fly, I can't really take advantage of the free alcohol because like that would be dangerous to do. So I just kind of like sit there and I get real nervous before flying, so I don't really eat. So I'll just like have like a plate of cheese or something, and I wonder like, is it worth it? And then there are like lines to get in, and there's all kinds of drama around the lounges, and I feel like sometimes even noisier than just like sitting in the terminal. Like, I don't know. Like, do you think
Yeah,
lounges are
people
worth the upgrade anymore? Because
people
I'm
get
starting to feel
rowdy.
jaded. I'm starting to feel jaded about the lounge.
Mean, I kind of feel the same to a certain extent. I know the last time I was flying and Newark Airport, it was with United and I had an early flight. And first of all, the lounge didn't open till like 6 o'clock in the morning, which was kind of like ridiculous because my flight was at 6:45 and I was there by like 5:30. So first of all, I'm like, I feel like they should open at least like at 5 o'clock in the morning and stay open a little bit later. But the United Lounge didn't open till 6. And then there was a long line to get in, which I was able to get in, and the food was fine. But I've also had experiences where I'm like, all right, I'm traveling by myself. I'm gonna, maximize my lounge access and just like work from there with my laptop, whatever. And I can't get in because it's like at capacity. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? And I'm just like, really? Now I gotta go spend money to like buy food because I can't get into the lounge.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a
All right.
disaster the last few times that I've traveled.
I'm gonna get totally canceled by Chase Bank here. So Chase Bank, like your United like Explorer card where it has the 2 free passes. Honestly, you can never use them at any of the hubs. It always says at capacity, we're not accepting one-time passes. Like my card, it includes just like United Club access, so you could just like go on regardless. But if you can never use those passes, like just like take it out of the rewards and maybe lower the annual fee. You can never use them. I'm sorry. When I had the card, I could never use it either. It was always we're full, no one-time passes. What's the point of even having this as a reward? Change the reward for your Explorer card. Okay, I'm done.
Um, I mean, I have to say, I am a Chase girly and I am a United girly. However, Amex has been coming through when it comes to the lounge access. It was funny because when we were coming back from Tanzania, we had a layover in Zurich and it was a long layover. So we actually went to like two different lounges. So we were lounge hopping at the airport, which was so much fun. But I feel like American Express has been coming through for me when it comes to accessibility of lounges and more of a variety.
I may have to change because with the United Club card, and this is just like an FYI if anyone has it, I don't know if you do, but they changed like their rewards. Like in the past, you could stay at Star Alliance lounges. So I stayed in a couple lounges in like Japan and France. And now they changed it where you have to have gold status with United or spend like something ridiculous. I don't know if it's $50,000 on the card. It's something like obscene to have the privilege of going to the Star Alliance lounges. And it's like, girl, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? That's not worth that. Come on now. Like, get real. Get out of here.
So there we go. Credit card annual fees are not a splurge if you can't get into the lounge.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Guys,
It's so
help me.
funny.
Should I keep this credit card? Like, feel free to drop me a DM or send me advice. Like, because I don't know what to do. Should I keep the United Club card or downgrade to the Quest? There is your homework for today. Like, to help me with this.
You have to put a poll. It's funny because the first time that Michael went to like the lounge, so I had a pass and it was gonna expire. So I was like, you know what? I wasn't feeling too well. I was like, there's no point in me using it for myself. I was like, why don't you go in, take the pass, enjoy the food, bring me back like a snack or something. So I waited for him because we only had like less than an hour to go into the lounge anyway. So he went in. So now every time we travel, before he used to freaking take forever. Michael's like, I'm not even gonna get into that because then he's gonna hate me for saying this.
He'll be
to
like,
the
edit.
to all of my 5 listeners, but he takes forever sometimes, and, like, whenever I tell him, "Okay, we have to be out the door by 6 o'clock in the morning," it's, like, 7, and I'm still like, "Michael, we have to, like, go now." But anyway, so once we started going to the lounges, like, I would tell him 6 o'clock, and he was like, "I could be ready by 5:30 if that gives us more time at the lounge," and I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me? You are a lounge snob."
He loves the lounge. And that's the thing. So, like with this United card too, like when I go on trips with friends, like I am always more than happy because you could take one guest with you. I'm fine treating my mom, I'm fine treating my friends. And I know they like the lounges. And it is like nice for me when I travel solo. Like, I don't know. And then I feel like all the social media drama constantly about the lounges has soured me. Like, I feel like I don't know. People need to grow up. I don't know. I don't know.
Like,
Are they
"Well, let's
worth
move
it?
on to the next one."
I'm having a crisis. I'm like, are the lounges worth it? Should I keep the United Club card? I don't know. You guys tell me because
I
I don't
feel
know
that's
what
an
to do.
episode on its own.
Make it the decision for me so I don't have to. I make too many decisions in my daily life. So
Oh my god. So has there been an actual splurge, whether big or small, that had you saying like, "Wow, I'm glad I opted to do that."
okay, so I have a couple. So this one is kind of interesting, and it was years ago. I had just moved for my job that I'm currently at now. And as you know, like moving, paying rent, like all of that, it eats up a big chunk of your budget. But I still wanted to travel somewhere. So I went to Montreal and I was staying in a really cool hostel. It was a beautiful hostel, and the private room was really nice. I'd stay there again. Well, I went on a food tour and I met a girl on the food tour, and we really hit it off. We went out for drinks afterwards. And she was like, Rachel, there is a hockey game going on. She's like, do you want me to buy tickets? And I think tickets were like $100. So at the time, that was a real splurge for me. But I loved hockey growing up. I would always go to hockey games with my dad. It's like the one sport I really am passionate about and love to see. And I know Canadians, it's like a real point of pride for them. So I was like, I really want to go to this game. I'll spend the $100. It was so worth it. Like the seats were really high up, but the energy up there was phenomenal. Like if going to hockey games in Philadelphia wasn't that same amount of high energy. Montreal, it was just so fun. Just like the vibe was really good, just the energy and the excitement. And I really enjoyed it. I did wish that my dad was with me, like he was at home, but it was definitely worth the splurge for me, partly because of nostalgia and because I love the game. And even though, again, like $100, it was kind of a big expense for me at the time, I still think about it to this day. And that was like 9 years ago. So that was one splurge that really stuck with me more so than say like a Michelin star restaurant or a nice hotel. I have a lot of them, but that hockey game really does stick out. So how about you?
Well, I'm like, I don't even wanna say mine. Yours was, like, so, like, sweet and poetic. I was gonna say buying my first Louis Vuitton bag overseas.
Louis Vuitton. I understand. Hey, when I bought my Chanel glasses, like I was really proud about those, and they have like gold chains on the side. Like I'm gonna just start like wearing that with my Burberry, and everyone will think I am like rich when really I just make questionable choices.
Yeah, I went to Italy with my friend Alex, and she wanted a Louis Vuitton bag. So she didn't own one, so this was gonna be her first baby. So she was like, "I wanna do it when we go to Italy. That way, every time I look at it, I'll think of our trip." So we're at the Louis Vuitton store, and she's looking at the bag that she wants to get. And then I another bag, and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's so pretty." And like the lady that was helping us, she was so sweet. She like took it out, had me try it on, but I was not prepared to make this purchase. And my friend Alex was such a bad influence. She's like, "Rosa, I'm gonna put it on my credit card and you're just gonna pay me back whenever you want." I was like, "No, I
No,
can't."
see, if somebody was kind enough to do that and be like, Rachel, you work hard. I know you work hard. Do you want a nice Louis Vuitton luggage? You could put it on my card and take your time. I would be
Yeah.
like, baby, anything you want.
Yeah, she was so funny. She was really trying to be the little devil on my shoulder, convincing me to buy the Louis Vuitton bag, and I bought the bag. But we saved because we did the VAT refund, we saved some money and all that fun stuff, and then I ended up paying her, like, in, like, 3 installments, so it didn't feel like that much of a expense on my end, but every time I look at the bag, I think about Alex and Italy.
That is a good friend, girl. That is a good
She's a
friend.
bad friend. She cost me like $1,500.
That is a ride or die. I am like, that is a ride or die. When I was in Paris and I was with my friend, we went to this amazing shoe store and they had really amazing, just like ballerina flats. And it was like the same thing. She told me, she's like, they're expensive. And I tried on these gold ballerina flats, and the girls in there were so nice and like they were so pretty and just like nice. So I mean, they were complimenting like how awesome I looked in these shoes. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I'll spend like $400 on shoes. I got the refund though, and I had a chance to break in the shoes, and they look really cool. So yeah.
I know. I was like, handbags are like my guilty pleasure. And normally I treat myself whenever we do travel overseas, just because it is a little bit cheaper than buying certain luxury items back home. But same thing. I mean, normally it's so funny because, like, when it comes to, like, let's say, like jewelry and clothes, like, listen, I would wear like a $10 shirt from Amazon. But
See,
you will
I'm
see me with my $1,500 handbag.
See, I'm the opposite. I like the clothes. Like, my Burberry coat is my baby. And just before anyone comes at me and is just like, "Oh, you're spending money on that," it was a hand me down from my mother, and I love the coat, so I actually didn't buy it. But
So it's so funny, not to get off topic. I know I was telling Michael I need a new coat because when we went to Italy on a different trip, he had gotten me for my birthday a Montclair jacket that some way somehow Samantha decided it would become her jacket. So now I have no jacket. So I was telling Michael, I was like, man, I was like, do you want to buy me a new jacket?
mom's Burberry is now my Burberry. And anyone listening to this, I'm really not a brat. She gave it to me. I promise I didn't steal it.
Let's go back to the travel, less about the shopping.
I was going to ask you, so theoretically, if you were going to splurge on your trip on a luxury bag, because you said some of these cost, less money overseas than the United States, where would be a good place to go? So say I wanted to buy my first Louis Vuitton or my first Gucci, where would you recommend I do that splurge? Because it's actually something I've always wondered about.
Yeah, so it's so funny that you mentioned that, Rachel. So I do my research. When I tell you, yes, I spend money, but yes, I like to save my money. Earlier in the year, when we were going to London and when we were going to France, I really wanted these Gucci loafers that I wanted to buy last year, but I didn't get a chance to buy them. So I was like, you know what? If I go to Europe in 2025, I'll look into it then. So I was doing the conversion. Actually, went to the Gucci store online in London to see how much it would cost in like pounds, and then I did the conversion from pounds to US dollars. And then I went to the website also for Gucci, but in France, and did the same thing. I did the conversion from euros to dollars. So it was actually cheaper in France, the cost of the Gucci loafers versus the UK when I did the conversion with the currency exchange, plus with the VAT refund. It was about the same percentage back. I think like 12 or 13%. I forget exactly. So I ended up waiting to buy them in France because it actually turned out to be like $150 cheaper buying them in France versus London. So my suggestion would be is to look, especially if it's a luxury item that's a European brand. If you're going to the destination, so like let's say Gucci, you're going to Italy, it's probably going to be cheaper in Italy than in France, or maybe about the same. And I think the VAT refund is pretty similar. Last time I looked
Yeah.
online, I think Ireland has like the highest VAT refunds. But I don't know
Okay.
what luxury items they sell there. I know when we went to Iceland, I wanted to buy something, but they didn't even have any of the stores that I was looking for in Reykjavik. So just doing your research and just kind of seeing and making sure that when you're on the website, you're not on the US website, that you're on the website for that particular country so you can see the cost. So like for reference, the loafers back home were $1,200. So all in all, I ended up paying like $800.
Okay, so that's a substantial saving. So
Mhm.
it's important, and what you're saying makes sense because this was years ago. My parents were in Zurich, and they went to the Rolex store to ask about a Rolex, and at the time, it was actually cheaper to buy that in the United States. And the salesperson was very honest and was like, "Look, honestly, if you're in the market for this particular brand, you're better off, say, going to New York City and buying it than here." Because there was just like, I'm not sure what the reason was, but you always want to do your research because the savings can be substantial. So if you're
Mhm.
looking for luxury items and that's your splurge with travel, which it might be. I mean, why not? Just do your research ahead of
But make
time.
sure to declare it, especially if you have global entry, and you may or may not have to pay taxes depending on the value of the goods. You might
Yeah.
have to pay taxes when you enter the US. So just kind of bear that in mind if you are going to make a purchase and see whether or not it's even worth it. Because then at that point, if you have to pay additional taxes, maybe it might not be worth the expense.
Yeah, could just be worth going to New York City and going on a shopping trip.
Or
That's
just go
that's
to
really true.
Hawaii. I hear it's
Yes,
cheaper to buy luxury items in Hawaii.
there you go. Book a flight to Hawaii. There you go. Go to Hawaii and buy yourself some Chanel, then
That's
tell
a
me all
splurge on
about
its
it.
own.
Yeah, yeah, go to Hawaii, like, have fun, buy a Chanel, then tell me about it while I'm, like, stuck in my apartment screaming at my electric bill with PSE&G.
Yeah,
So
I feel like the conversation might have taken a turn. I don't even know
it
where we
always
are.
does. It always does. Oh god, guys, I am so sorry. So have you ever treated yourself to a once in a lifetime experience like the Gucci bag, not Gucci, Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton sounds like one, but any other
Well, I
one?
guess I'll be a little bit more sentimental. I don't wanna be materialistic with all of my I mean, it's
Who
funny
cares?
because every time like I said, normally I reserve my big purchases when I travel to Europe, so I have very specific handbags that every time I wear them, I think of the destination, but we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna
I
talk about
love
something
it. I
more
love it. I love it. Guys, be as materialistic as you want. Life is short. Who cares?
I mean, I work hard for my money, so I like to treat myself. I always say I give myself one big birthday/Christmas gift. So what if it's a $2,000 handbag?
Who cares? Yep.
I pay taxes. I don't know how that evens it out, but anyways. So I guess I would say there's a couple of experiences that we've done that have been a bit of a splurge. So we've done like the hot air balloon when we went to Egypt. That was like a last minute thing and it was totally worth it. We had such a great time. And just recently when we went to Tanzania, same thing, with the hot air balloon. So that one was a bit of a splurge because I think it was like $500 or $600 per person, which was pretty hefty. But seeing the animals, seeing the Serengeti from above, it was such a magical experience. And then at the end, we had like a sunrise breakfast out in the wild. So that was like a memorable experience and something that I wouldn't experience anywhere else. When we did it in Egypt, it was in Luxor and it wasn't that expensive. I think we paid maybe like 150 US dollars per person. So it's a little bit more affordable. So that was a ton of fun. And then also when we went to Peru, we did a day trip from Lima to Huacachina where they have like the sand dunes. Although I did chicken out at the end and I did not go sandboarding, but that was a whole nother thing. It was still worth it. It was still worth it. Seeing Michael and Samantha do it made the experience super memorable. And that was also a bit of a splurge because it was a day trip and it was a pretty long ride from Lima to get to Huacachina. And we did it all in one day. So we were out for like 15 hours, I believe. And then that was pretty expensive. I think we ended up paying like maybe like $500, $600, like in total.
Yeah, wow. That sounds
Yeah.
really cool.
But these are memories that I'll remember forever. Like you said, money hopefully comes back.
Yeah, I do think, like, spending money on experiences are so worth it. Like, the hockey game for me was really worth it, and then another one that I was just thinking of sitting here, again, at the time, like, I was in my 20s, so it was expensive for me, but when I was in Slovenia in Lake Bled, one of the people in my hostel was like, "We should totally go paragliding off the Alps," and I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? That's a good idea." And at the time at the time, I was kind of, like,
Fearful
fresh
flyer, paragliding. It
I
makes sense.
know. I was kind
It
of
makes sense.
frustrated with things back home. So I spent like the money, I think it was like 100 euros to do at the time. And we had a guide pick us up. And it was like 45 minutes driving up the mountain and then maybe an additional 30-minute hike. And then just getting up there, it's just like you're up in the sky. And I was kind of freaking out. Like once they were like strapping me in, putting the helmet on, because you have to like run towards the cliff's edge and your body's going to try to make you stop because like you're not supposed to be running at cliffs because you're going to fall and die. And the pilot who was with me was like, when you're running, don't try to sit down because if you try to sit down, you could like damage your knees. Like, don't try to stop. You just have to keep going. So I was like, okay, I can do this. Well, it's like really, I think I was in shock, but when we were actually up in the sky, it was just so amazing seeing all the mountains from like a bird's eye view, just like up in the clouds. It was like insanity. It was bonkers. It was bonkers. It was so cool. And it's definitely something I'll always remember. And we even hit turbulence. So I've hit turbulence as a paraglider, and
Oh my gosh.
we couldn't land in the original, like, landing spot, we had to go and land in a field somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds a little intense, but that was similar to our experience when we were in the hot air balloon in Egypt. The one in the Serengeti, it was such a smooth landing. Like we landed and I was like, what the heck? It was so smooth. But the one in Egypt, we were about to like land and I think we were gonna land like in like someone's field, corn or I don't even know what they were growing, but there was some type of crops. So they were trying to like get the hot air balloon, the people that were down at on the ground pulling us to like get away from that particular area so we don't land on top of like someone's like corn or cows or I don't even know what it was. So that was a little bit of an interesting experience. It was a little bit more of a rougher landing than the Serengeti.
That's so funny. But yeah, guys, really like I think what Rose and I are trying to say, like if you spend money on experiences, those memories do like follow you. Now, granted, if it's like between deciding to pay your rent or keeping the lights on and an experience, like we obviously don't encourage like recklessness to that extent. But if it's something where you can swing it and you think you'll remember it for the rest of your life, it's definitely like well worth it. Because like with me, being a fearful flyer, I never thought I could get up there and like paraglide off the side of the Alps. I don't even think we signed a waiver or anything. They were just like, go for it, girl, have fun.
And now you have this epic story to tell.
It
So
was so much
totally
fun.
worth it. But have you ever had the experience where you have fell for a tourist trap or spent a ton of money on something that was overhyped and a little bit disappointing maybe?
So I've actually been really lucky not falling for like tourist traps because I think a lot of them are pretty glaringly obvious. I don't know if it's just like me, like, thinking that I'm such an expert traveler or whatnot. I did, and this was like my fault. In my fault in London, I booked afternoon tea. So I feel like that's just something you have to do in London is afternoon tea. And the tea was great. I am not knocking the tea. But I had met a friend of mine the night before and we were out. I'll just kind of leave it at that. I'm going to let that hang there. So I did not feel too great the next day to go to my afternoon tea that I spent 120 pounds on and I looked awful. And I had this waitress, she was super nice. And I was just like, give me the strongest tea that you have. And I just felt like nauseous sitting there eating my little sandwiches and my little sweets. And I'm just like, I spent 120 pounds. It's like, why did I do this to myself? So if you have an experience that you're really looking forward to, just don't do that. So I would say that, but it was not. The tea was phenomenal and it was like unlimited like sandwiches, unlimited like crumpets. You could have as much tea as you wanted. So it was great. It was such a good experience. I just wish that I had not been such an idiot and could have enjoyed it better. So that would be mine.
Don't PSA for you kids.
My God, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be like me in general.
No, that's so funny. I think for me, let's see. I think I'm gonna have to say when we went to Thailand, at that point, the what was the name of the hotel? Shibuya, I think it was called, or Labuya. I forget the name of the hotel. But anyways, the hotel that was really famous in the Hangover movie. So we decided to stay there and they had a rooftop restaurant and bar called the Sky Tower. So normally whenever we travel, we always like to have like typically our last night to be like a really nice, like fancy like dinner. So that's when we'll like splurge, kind of get dressed up really nice and just kind of like balls to the walls type of experience.
Yes.
And when I looked at the restaurant, obviously it's very touristy. It was really popular because of the movie and all that fun stuff. And we were already staying at the hotel and the accommodations was actually fairly reasonably priced. So I thought like, okay, we're going to go to the restaurant on site. We're probably gonna spend maybe like 200 or 300 bucks for dinner. So we get there. There were no prices on the menu. But again, I was like, okay, I was prepared to spend maybe 200 or 300 bucks. So we're there and the menu comes out and it was not 200 or 300 bucks in total. It was more like 200 or 300 bucks per person. And the portion size of the food, it was funny because I remember my plate, I ordered like a steak and it had like all this decoration. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if this is edible or not, but I'm eating it. And if you know me, you know that I eat like a bird and I usually get filled up very quickly. It's very rare when I can finish a meal. But when I tell you, not only did I finish my meal, but I was still hungry. So like the portion size was like
Wow. Dang, and it was like 200
small.
bucks per person?
Yeah, I ordered like steak and then Michael and I, we didn't even get like a full bottle of wine. We had like a half size bottle of wine. And then even that was like 100 bucks. Like It was insane, and again, I knew going in that it was gonna be a little bit pricey just because of the location, the ambiance, and don't get me wrong, it was beautiful view because 'cause you're, like, all the way at the top, you can see, like, Bangkok. It was a beautiful experience, but it was not worth the 300 bucks. I remember when they came with the check, I just handed her my credit card. I was like, "Let's just hope it swipes."
My god, I would be so salty. Like, so with me, like, I am really fussy with food and restaurants. Like, I do put a lot of my budget towards that. I'll make reservations in advance. I'll look at the Michelin guide, kind of see what's around. And it doesn't even have to be Michelin star. It could be like a bib gourmand, which is more reasonable or in the guide. But like that feeling when you end up at a restaurant and the food is not good, but they're also like charging you an arm and a leg, I go feral. I get
Like, the
so
food
mad. I get so mad. They
the
give you
food
like
was good. The food was good. It was just the portion size was very small and the cost was much more than I had anticipated, but the food itself was good.
my
I
goodness.
was
Yeah.
just ready to go to McDonald's afterwards.
I went to McDonald's in Osaka and it was awesome.
Yeah.
McDonald's has saved
McDonald's is a
me.
lifesaver. McDonald's have saved me many times, so
McDonald's is always there to save the day. Whenever I'm in need, whether I'm trapped in Versailles when it's raining, out late at night in Osaka and starving, or coming back from like a 14-hour day with the Grand Canyon, McDonald's has always stepped it up and has been there for me. Thank you, Ronald McDonald. You are my king. This is the most American thing ever.
but where would you say that you would draw the line between something that's like a splurge or a waste of money?
So with me, like it like kind of depends. So like with the hotel, for example, like I know we talked about upgrades. Like I do think you kind of have to be careful with that, for example. So I do think like if I have like a balcony and it's overlooking the water, that's like a good upgrade to spend the money on. But if I'm spending like a lot of money for an upgrade and it's just maybe like a better view or a higher floor, I don't know if I really care all that much and I consider it more of a waste of money. And then two, something that I consider a waste of money, but it's kind of a small thing, but this is just me and I hope people don't come for me for this, but I'm actually really bad sometimes about listening to audio guides in museums. I just kind of want to read the stuff on my own and go at my own pace. So there's been times where I've spent like extra money on the audio guides and then I end up just not listening to them. That happened to my friend and I in southern Spain like more than once. So we just kind of were like, maybe we're just not audio guide people at all. So it's like little things like that that are maybe not like a fortune, but do certainly add up. And I'm trying to think, I'm sure there's more that'll come to mind. But what do you think, Rosa? What would you consider like a waste of your money?
I mean, I guess kind of going back to my experience in Thailand would be going somewhere just because it's like Instagrammable. I mean, I wish I would have saved more money going out to dinner somewhere else and maybe just going to the Sky Tower for like a cocktail or like a nightcap and just enjoying the view and just going for like a drink as opposed to like spending all that money on dinner. So just actually doing the research, going somewhere because again, for me, when I travel, I also want to eat good and I want to go to places where the food is actually delicious and not just like a tourist trap. And you normally will see those, especially during like popular attractions, those restaurants that have pictures everywhere where there's someone outside trying to lure you in and with all
I
these
hate that.
specials.
I
Like,
hate that. I hate
I
that.
have
And it's
fallen
just
for those out of just convenience, but no, again, I like to do my research and find places that are legitimately good. So I guess just that. That for me.
I have a lot of stories about that in Italy in particular.
I guess that's what I would consider a little bit more of a waste is just going somewhere just because of the aesthetic and not the quality of the service. But again, if it's something that brings value or is going to make your trip much more memorable, then that's something that you want to spend money on. We all have different interests, different likes. So that's something that's important to you, then why not?
Yeah, and that's really what it all comes down to again. If it's something that's important to you and that you like and you know it'll make you happy, then like spend the money, but don't like feel pressured to spend money because of stuff say that you're seeing on Instagram. Like don't feel like you're doing travel wrong if you're not like going to the most popular restaurants or like the most like trending whatever. I mean, you know yourself, your likes, your interests, were all different. So put your money towards things that are going to make you happy and not towards things like you feel like you need to do because then you'll start feeling resentful about it. And this goes double in an expensive destination. Like I may be kind of YOLO at home sometimes, but I'm not going to be kind of YOLO in Iceland. Like that's going to really drive me into bankruptcy.
Yeah, ice is that cheap.
No, I love Iceland though. Iceland's a good place, a good place. So was there something like that you used to think wasn't worth the money, but you changed your mind about as you continued to travel?
I guess I would have to go with something along the lines of comfort. So when I was younger traveling, I always wanted to look cute. And especially when I got into like Instagram and social media, I always wanted to look cute for the photo. Now it's like, no, I just want to be comfortable. Like being cute is an extra. I'd rather be comfortable. So just maybe just making sure that you're packing appropriately and you're not wasting your money buying things just because they look nice, but that actually are going to be comfortable. It's going to make your trip much more enjoyable. You don't even want to walk around. That's happened to me before when I think it was in Italy. I bought like these shoes and I was like, oh, I'm going to wear like these cute sandals. And walking up and down in Positano with these cheap ass sandals just because they were cute was like the worst decision of my life.
That's a special sort of hell right there.
Yeah, no, they were really cute. They were adorable, but the function and comfort was not there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, like, what's now, like, worth the splurge are I do like being able to pick my seat on the airplane because, like, before I would just kinda wing it, but being a nervous flyer, turbulence is very noticeable in the back of the plane. If you've ever sat, like, way back in the plane, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't mind spending a little extra to get better seats. Like, United, it's, like, free to do that, but if I'm flying, say, with Air Canada or Iceland Air, I will spend the extra just to have the seat that I want, but that's more of a comfort thing for me. And what's definitely worth it now is just staying in hotels. I traveled so much in hostels when I was younger, and I would share like a room with like 6 other girls, 8 other people. I have seen everything that a person can see in their life by staying in hostels, and I think I'm done.
You're like, "I'm over it."
Hotels.
I
I'm
mean,
all
yeah.
about hotels.
Exactly. I like a nice quiet bed. I don't wanna have to share a bathroom. I've never done the hostels, so I can't really comment too much on that,
My
but just
God.
know I mean, I lived in the dorm when I was in college my first
I
year,
have
and I
had
hated it. I lasted 3 months, so that tells you everything.
I've had some experiences, and some of them are, like, funny, but I remember there was one time in Madrid, I was staying in a hostel, and it was just me and, like, this other guy, like, in the room, and we just started talking about credit cards and how to, like, churn credit cards and to just, like, get all these points for the least amount of money, and I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm just, like, in this room with this, like, stranger, we're just talking about churning credit cards. I don't know any of these people. You have to
Sounds like
trust them enough to sleep there.
Sounds like it was a productive conversation, though. It's funny
It was
because I normally don't pay to, like, pick my seats. I'll let them, like, randomly pick it, but then I like to get to the airport early enough, like, if I'm not able to change especially if I'm traveling with Michael and Samantha, if I'm not able to change my seats around online when I'm checking in, then normally I try to get there a little bit earlier and just politely ask, like, "Hey, any chance you can sit the 3 of us together?" Sometimes they'll accommodate it. There's times that they're like, "No," and I'm like, "I'll see you guys in 8 hours. Goodbye."
Yeah. And like that's like a good rule of thumb too. I know we talked about this on our luxury episode, but it never hurts to ask because sometimes you make it like the upgrade for like free or for low cost and you never would have otherwise if you ask politely. So that's always like a good rule of thumb. There's no harm in asking if it's something that you want to.
Yeah, but I never ask the passengers though. So like there's
No.
been times that we're sitting down, like it just happened to us recently. And Michael and Samantha were sitting in one area and then I was sitting, we were like on the same row and I was sitting on the opposite side. I had window. And then the gentleman next to me, his wife was sitting next to Michael and Samantha. So then I said to him, I was like, "Oh, did you guys want to sit together?" He's like, it's okay. I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was offering not because I wanted to go next to Michael and Samantha. I was just thinking maybe he wanted to be next to his wife. So then him and I started joking around. And I'm like, yeah, I'm with them enough. I was like, I'll see them in 6 hours. We're going to
Like some
the same place. So I will ask at the counter, but I don't like to ask. Like I get a little like shy asking a passenger to switch with me.
I've never had someone has asked me one time and like luckily they were just like it because she wanted to sit next to her sister but like her sister had a seat closer to the front so the girl was nice enough to be like my sister can come back here and it's still a window seat it was like a window for a window but I was getting the better seat so like that's kind of like the way to do it I would never ask somebody to give up like their better seat to accommodate me so in that case I was like sure like that's like an easy whatever.
Yeah, that happened to me one time. Somebody wanted me to change seats with them, and I had window seat. And it's funny because this was one of the very few times that I actually did pay because I was traveling by myself and I wanted the window seat coming back to New York. And somebody asked me to switch seats with her, but then she was gonna get the window seat, but I was gonna get the middle seat, like 3
Oh
rows back.
no,
And then I
no.
just looked at her and I was like, "No, I'm sorry. I don't want to."
Think so.
I
I
was like,
don't think
"Who will even
so.
think to, like, even ask?" Like, I don't wanna go sit 3 rows behind and be, like, in the middle in a four-seater where I have a bigger more leg room and I have the window. Like, it just didn't make any logical sense, and I know she wasn't too happy with my answer, but I was like, "I'm not gonna give up my seat." Like, I actually paid for this seat, so no, I'm
No,
staying here.
no, dear listeners, if you are a new traveler, don't ever do that because we will like yell at you. Don't make
Yeah.
anyone give up their seat
And
for
it's
like a piece
different.
of crap seat.
Yeah, and it's different, like, maybe if it was, like, a family or something like that, but this was, like, a grown woman who just wanted to sit next to her boyfriend. I was like, "Then you should have paid to sit next to your boyfriend."
I'm not gonna say what came to my mind because like we'd have to censor it out anyway. So I'm just
Yeah.
keeping my mouth shut.
So in that situation, again, if it's something that's important to you, then pay for it. Don't leave it up to chance. And I think we talked about this in our luxury travel episode. If it's something that's going to bring more value and make your trip more enjoyable, then don't leave it up to chance. Like, yes, it's great when you get upgraded for free, whether it's at the airline counter or when you arrive at your hotel. But these things don't always happen and they're not always guaranteed. So if it's something that's really important to you, like sitting next to your boyfriend, then pay the 23 euros.
Yeah, seriously. So I guess for like our listeners who are trying to decide like, when should I splurge, when should I not? What is something you think that they should never cheap out on? Because I know travel can be expensive, but what are those things where it's like seriously, like do not look at it as a splurge. Don't cheap out on this. You'll be miserable otherwise.
I mean, I think we kind of said this already, but comfort and safety, like I would never cheapen out if I'm going to be staying in a location where maybe it's not known to be very safe or it's going to be further away. Because at the end of the day, like when you're staying somewhere that's more centrally located, maybe it's within walking distance, maybe it's within public transport. I've stayed in other destinations where they've been cheaper, but they're like further away. And now you're spending more time and more money having to commute versus if you would have just spent a little bit more to stay somewhere more centrally located. So I would never cheapen out on something that's going to bring you comfort and security.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I was again in my 20s, stayed in some dicey places to save money. Like, guys, if you are listening to this, don't stay in the places I did when I was young because I will not be very happy. Like, there were some areas that were not safe. I always go back to the place I stayed in Paris during the first time, and it was not safe, guys. So just always, it's not worth staying in an area that's going to be like unsafe or like if you feel like your stuff's going to get stolen, like just certain things are not worth it. And that goes like triple. I've never really used Airbnb for accommodations, but like if you book something on there because, oh, this is cheaper in a hotel, and like you get there and it was like the pictures are misleading, you feel uncomfortable, the host is maybe acting weird, just spend the money and get out. Like that, I would say is probably the most important thing. If you're ever in a situation where spending money will get you out of a bad situation, spend the money, contest it with your credit card, do what you have to do, but get out of that situation. At that point, money doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one. Done the Airbnbs, and thankfully, I've never had a bad experience. So normally, when I do travel, and if I am opting, so we did that when we went to Portugal when we were staying in Porto. We decided to do a Airbnb. So normally, with a lot of destinations, especially like in Europe, there are, let's say, like management companies or companies that they kind of have multiple accommodations. So normally I try to look for those as opposed to an Airbnb that's owned by like an individual. So I'll look to see something that's owned by like a company because then at least I'll know it's a little bit more reputable. And if something does go wrong, that there's going to be someone that I can kind of contact and maybe they can offer me like an alternate place. But thankfully, I've never had any issues. But I do opt to stay more like hotels, boutique hotels, larger hotel chains, just because I feel a little bit better, more comfortable, more safe.
Yeah, never like compromise your safety to save a few bucks. It usually doesn't end well. And that goes triple if you're traveling alone. Like I've done a lot of solo travel. Like make sure you're taking care of yourself. Spend the money. Don't get like robbed or hurt or anything like that because it's not
Yeah,
worth it. Like your life
safety
isn't worth
first.
saving money. Yeah, safety
And not
first
just
always.
overseas, that applies traveling even domestically.
Especially domestically. Definitely like I don't want to be staying somewhere really like dangerous in New York to save a couple bucks. Like
Exactly. But let's switch gears into something more fun. If you
yes.
had unlimited travel funds, where would you go? And what would you do?
Well, I would probably go back to my current favorite known as Japan, and I would stay in any like five-star hotel, like any like Four Seasons, like that, go to as many onsen as I could, eat all the Michelin star restaurants, go shopping till I dropped in Tokyo and just stay there for the whole month, just bringing up my budget to the sky. I miss Japan so much. How about
Just
you?
send me back to Japan. I
I
mean,
know.
one of the places that I really, really wanted to go to, I actually was able to cross that off this year, and that was going to Tanzania, doing like the safari. That was like high up on my list. So now that I've done that, I think the next place that I want to check off, hopefully soon, would it be maybe like either the Maldives or like French Polynesia, go to like Bora Bora or Fiji. I
That would be
haven't done
so
any of those
cool.
destinations. So
I would love to go to Fiji. I would still really want to go to New Zealand and Australia one day. I still feel like if I could do those flights, my fear of flying's cured. So
yeah, you can
I would
totally
I would
do it.
spend.
You
Thank
can
you.
totally do it.
Thank
I
you.
can see you running around like a little hobbit,
That's me.
chasing after the kangaroos.
I want to be a hobbit when I grow up. Let's forget the fact that I'm 38. When I grow up, I want to be a hobbit. I want to be Bilbo Baggins going on adventures in New Zealand. So that's my
I feel
life.
like I've done a lot of like cool things in my travels. So I think I kind of ready for more of a relaxation type of vacation.
Yeah,
So
I
I've done some,
understand.
some fun things. I feel like going on a over water bungalow and just like watching the sunset sounds
I need
epic.
that. I need that. We were talking about that today in New Hope that we would love to like go places where we could just relax. I feel like we're just so overworked and there's something to be said for like a relaxing vacation. Like I would just like I said with Japan just like love to go back and do like spa experiences and have a full-blown wellness trip over there for a month and then buy everything in Tokyo and bring it all back and probably get hit over the head with taxes when I go through Newark Airport.
Just pay, spend all the money on fees.
Right, all the money will be on fees. I have to hand the US government my money, which stop taking my money, please. Whatever happened to like no taxes without representation? I was listening to the Hamilton soundtrack. Where
My
is that
God.
deal? I don't want to pay taxes no more.
Oh my God. We're gonna go into rapid fire questions before we really get audited by the IRS out here.
Please no.
All right. So would you rather splurge on a business class flight or on a luxury hotel stay?
Should probably do the luxury hotel because you're there longer. Like if someone was like, we're going to give you a suite at the Ritz Carlton, but you have to fly your usual economy plus, I'm fine making that trade any day of the week, especially if there's like perks included, like the spa or if they have like a nice restaurant on site. So I'm taking the hotel.
I'd rather stay somewhere nice because the flight, I feel like whether it's like 8 hours, 10 hours, that comes and goes, but I'd rather be in a nice, luxurious spot.
Yeah. So, Rosa, would you rather eat at a Michelin star restaurant or do a bucket list excursion?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I do love to eat good. However, I feel like the bucket list excursion will probably be something more memorable, especially if I'm with Michael and Samantha, as opposed to eating at a Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Or, like with me, I'm like, can I do a bucket list excursion and then go to a Michelin star for dinner?
Just do both. Why not?
Yeah, I would go with the bucket list excursion too, though, because I agree. Like, as much as I love food, I do think the memory of a bucket list experience would just stay with you longer and be more worth it.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one. So, would you rather waste money on a bad meal or a disappointing excursion? I've had
Just
them both, so I'm just like, I don't want to spend money on anything bad.
no, I think I would go if the bad meal doesn't give me food poisoning, I'll go with the bad meal. If the bad meal gives me food poisoning, I'll go with the disappointing excursion.
There you go. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I've done both too, and they're like never fun, and then I just get angry for spending money on that.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm opting out of this question.
Yeah, it's like nope, tapping out, tapping out.
So, would you rather spend more money, well, too much money on airport cocktails or overpriced souvenirs?
Overpriced souvenirs. I'll buy more trash. Like the airport, I
Same.
can't drink at the airport because I'm on meds, so it doesn't. So I'll go with the souvenirs.
Like Flying doesn't stress me out and I'm good with the flights, but like I get a little bit of anxiety being in the airport, especially if I have to clear customs or if I have a layover. Just the whole experience of being in an airport kind of stresses me out. So sometimes maybe I can have a drink if I'm like relaxed at the lounge and have like ample time and everything's smooth. But normally I'm not a big drinker when I'm flying. So I will opt for the expensive souvenirs because I dropped a lot of money in Japan just buying things that I did not need.
I still have Final Fantasy merch like sitting in my closet. What? Like, I don't know, guys. All right. Would you rather? Oh, I know what this is going to be. Would you rather buy designer souvenirs or unique local art?
I mean, I do love art, but I don't display any art in my home. So then I feel like that would probably be a waste. So I guess just load me up with all the souvenirs.
I'm gonna go with the art because I love putting art up and I'm such like an art person. I'm running out of wall space, but
I'm
yeah,
like, I'll
I'll go.
just wear my souvenirs.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, man. That's too funny.
Yeah.
All right. So, on that note, thank you so much, Besties, for tuning in. That's going to be a wrap on today's episode of Bon Voyage Besties. So, whether you're team treat yourself like Rachel or team save a coin like me sometimes, remember that the best travel moments usually aren't about how much you spend, but how you feel while you're there. These memories are going to live with you forever. And, like Rachel said, money comes and goes. So, these memories will stay with you forever. So, if you love today's episode, make sure to give us a follow, give us a rating, and make sure to share Bon Voyage Besties wherever you get your podcast and tell your best and worst travel splurge because we always love hearing your stories. And that way, we don't feel like we're the only ones making bad decisions out there.
Yeah. I want to hear some of your bad decisions. You guys know all of mine. Like,
So,
you're,
we're too much of an open book. So like it's
yes.
someone else needs to take the hot seat. So
Yeah,
until next
seriously.
time, make sure to keep your passports ready and your priorities straight. And as always, safe travels and bon voyage besties.
Gosh, besties, go book a trip, buy some souvenirs, take a hot air balloon ride, go to a Michelin star restaurant. We'll see you. Bye
Get that
bye.
Louis Vuitton bag. It's gonna be worth it. Adios.
Yes. Adios. Bon voyage.